The Barroso Commission was the European Commission in office from the 22nd of November 2004 until the 31st of October 2014. Its president was José Manuel Barroso, who presided over 27 other commissioners. On the 16th of September 2009, Barroso was re-elected by the European Parliament for a further 5 years, and his commission was approved to take office on 9 February 2010. Barroso was at first seen as the lowest common denominator by outside commentators, but his proposed team of commissioners earned him some respect before triggering a crisis when the European Parliament objected to some of them, forcing a reshuffle. In 2007 the Commission gained 2 new members when Romania and Bulgaria joined the European Union. Barroso's handling of his office was markedly more presidential than his predecessors. During his term the Commission passed major legislation including the REACH and Bolkestein directives. Under Barroso, the civil service in the Commission became more economically liberal. History. Barroso was nominated as president and approved by Parliament in July 2004. However, his proposed commission met with opposition from the Parliament, notably concerning Rocco Buttiglione and his conservative comments, which were seen as incompatible with his role as European Commissioner for Justice, Freedom and Security. The opposition plunged the EU into a minor crisis before Barroso conceded to the Parliament and reshuffled his team, removing Buttiglione, and his commission took office on the 22nd of November 2004. The Commission was joined in 2007 by 2 further commissioners when Bulgaria and Romania joined the EU presidential candidates. The Prodi Commission was due to end its mandate at the end of October 2004, so following the 2004 elections to the 6th European Parliament, candidates for Commission President began to be considered. There was strong backing for Belgian Prime Minister Guy Verhofstadt from Ireland, France and Germany, who saw him as a convinced European and also a fighter. However, the Federalist was opposed by Spain, the United Kingdom, Italy and Poland due to his vocal opposition to the Iraq War and the inclusion of God in the European Constitution. Irish Taoiseach Bertie Ahern was also a popular candidate but did not wish to take up the job, due to the victory of the European People's Party in the previous election. EPP parties were keen to get one of the members into the post, including Luxembourgian Prime Minister Jean-Claude Juncker, who refused, and Austrian Chancellor Wolfgang Schüssel, who was in a coalition with the far-right Freedom Party of Austria, which discredited him as a candidate to some governments. A number of commissioners were also touted, notably Franz Fischler, Commissioner for Agriculture, Antonio Vitorino, Commissioner for JAR, Chris Patton, Commissioner for External Relations, Michel Barnier, and Commissioner for Regional Policy. Other candidates were High Representative Javier Solana and President of the Parliament Pat Cox. However, both were light candidates. However, Barroso emerged as a leading candidate despite his support for the Iraq War and being seen as the lowest common denominator following objections to other candidates. The Parliament approved Barroso as president on the 22nd of July 2004 by 413 votes to 215, with most of his support coming from the EPP-led group. He did, however, earn praise for his later choice of commissioners. Commissioner hearings. Barroso rejected the idea of a supercommissioner and desired 1/3 of the commission to be women and that the most powerful portfolios should be handed to those most capable, not those from larger states. His sharing out of jobs between the larger and smaller states equally earned him some early praise. Candidates were proposed by national governments for each of the commissioners, and Parliament held hearings for them to determine the suitability. Between the 27th of September and the 11th of October of that year, During the hearings, members found fault in a number of commissioners. Committees questioned the suitability of Ingrida Sudra, Laszlo Kovacs, Neelie Kroes and Marianne Fisher-Boel. However, the most controversial was Rocco Buttiglione as European Commissioner for Justice, Freedom and Security due to his conservative comments which, in the eyes of some MEPs, made him unsuitable for a job securing civil rights in the EU, leading to the Civil Rights Committee to be the first committee to vote down an incoming commissioner. The Party of European Socialists were the most vocal critics of Barroso and his proposed commission, while the European People's Party backed the commission with the alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Europe split. Barroso attempted to offer small concessions to Parliament, but they were not accepted as the PES made clear they would vote down the commission as it stood, leaving the divided LD holding the balance of whether the Barroso Commission would be the first commission in EU history rejected by Parliament. The EPP demanded that if Buttiglione were to go, then a PES commissioner must also be sacrificed for balance. Barroso eventually gave in and withdrew his proposed College of Commissioners and, following 3 weeks which left Prodi continuing as a caretaker, proposed a new lineup. There were 3 changes to help his dented authority and win the support of Parliament. Buttiglione had been withdrawn by Italy and replaced by Foreign Minister Franco Frattini. Laszlo Kovacs was moved from energy to taxation and Ingrida Sudra was withdrawn and replaced by Andris Piebalgs, who took over the now vacant post of energy. However, a further issue concerning Jacques Barrot was raised by Independence Democracy co-leader and Nigel Farage MEP. Barrot, a returning commissioner nominated as a vice president with the transport portfolio, had received a suspended prison sentence in 2000 in relation to a funding scandal involving his political party. He subsequently received a presidential amnesty from then-French President Jacques Chirac, and Barroso was unaware of the conviction until it was raised by Parliament. Despite this, Barroso stood by Barrot, stating he was fit for office. Farage had also made allegations against Vice President Sim Kallas, stating he had a criminal record in fraud. However, this proved false, based on an inaccurate newspaper article, and an apology was published. Despite this, the commission was approved on the 18th of November 2004, 449 votes in favor, 149 against and 82 abstentions. After Barroso gained the support of all 3 major parties and they took office on the 22nd of November, 3 weeks after they were due to 2007 enlargement. Romania and Bulgaria joined the EU on the 1st of January 2007, with each being granted a single commissioner, increasing the College of Commissioners to 27 members. Both new commissioners were approved by the Parliament on the 12th of December 2006. Meglena Kuneva was proposed by Bulgaria and was assigned the Consumer Protection Portfolio, previously part of the Joint Health and AMP Consumer Protection Portfolio. She was welcomed by Parliament, with the EPP and PES being impressed by her aims and attitude. Kuneva, with 583 votes in favor, 21 votes against, and 28 votes abstentions. Romania originally proposed Senator Varujan Vosganian. However, he quickly met with opposition from socialists and the Commission itself due to his far-right views and having no experience of the EU or profile outside Romania. The nomination was replaced by Leonard Orban, who was given the portfolio of multilingualism, previously part of education, training and AMP culture. This, however, was met a cool reception for being such a slim portfolio. PES group leader Martin Schulz MEP suggested it should instead focus on ethnic minorities, but this was rejected by Barroso. Orban was approved by Parliament with 595 votes in favour, 16 against and 29 abstentions. End of term resignations. In March 2008, Commissioner Kyprianou left the Commission following presidential elections in Cyprus to become his home country's new foreign minister. He was replaced by Androula Vassiliou, who was approved by Parliament on 9 April. Commissioners leaving early towards the end of the mandate is common, as they seek to secure the next job, but can undermine the Commission as a whole. Kyprianou was followed by Franco Frattini on 23 April 2008 following elections in Italy, when he was recalled to serve as Foreign Minister of Italy. Frattini's responsibilities were handed to Barrett until a replacement for Frattini could be found. In light of Parliament's opposition in 2004 when Buttiglione was deemed inappropriate for the Justice portfolio, when Antonio Tajani MEP was put forward to replace Frattini, President Barroso handed him Barrett's transport portfolio, leaving Barrett to continue with the Justice portfolio for continuity and to ensure Parliament would back Tajani in such a non-sensitive position as transport. Parliament approved Tajani on 18 June 2008 with a vote of 507 to 53. Peter Mandelson then left in October 2008 to return to national politics as Secretary of State for Business, Enterprise and Regulatory Reform, being replaced by Baroness Ashton. Following the 2009 election, two commissioners stood down to accept seats in the European Parliament, Danuta Hübner and Louis Michel, who were replaced by Parel Samecki and Carol de Gucht respectively. Dalia Grybauskaite was replaced by Algirdas Šemeta on 1 July 2009 after becoming President of Lithuania. Jan Figel was replaced by Maros Šefčovič on 1 October 2009 after being elected leader of the Christian Democratic Movement on 21 September 2009. Second term, Barroso. In 2008, Barroso steadily won support from leaders for a second term. His president, Nicolas Sarkozy and Silvio Berlusconi, both declared their support for Barroso, though Barroso himself stated it is up to the political parties in Parliament. On 19 July 2008, Barroso stated for the first time that he was seeking a second term and was backed by the EPP for re-election. In the 2009 elections, the EPP maintained the position as largest party, though without an absolute majority even with the support of other parties to the right. Yet the second and third largest groups, the PES and ALDE, failed to put forward an alternative candidate to challenge Barroso even if they had won. Despite this, a loose red-green-yellow coalition formed against Barroso in an attempt to gain concessions from him. They demanded Barroso set out clearly his policy guidelines for his next term and offer key posts in the Commission to the group members. They also attempted to push the vote back beyond the ratification date for the Treaty of Lisbon to have more power over his appointment. In a meeting with the political groups on 10 September 2009, Barroso argued his new policies to a packed room with an unusually lively debate as Barroso defended his record against the Greens, his most ardent opponents. Despite holding his own in the debate, he did not win support from the Greens. However, the PES, SNAMP, D and ALDE leaders softened their opposition, the latter approving of the idea of a Commissioner for Human Rights. Following the plenary debate on 15 September, the EPP and anti-federalist European Conservatives and Reformists declared support. with conditional support from ALDE, the PES, SNAMP, D, Greens, EFA and Eurosceptic Europe for Freedom and Democracy group all declared opposition, criticizing ALDE for switching camps. However, the groups struggled to enforce a party line as MEPs vote via a secret ballot. The vote took place on the 16th of September 2009. On the 16th of September 2009, Barroso was re-elected by Parliament by 382 to 219. Second term, college. Although Jacques Barrot wished to stay, French President Sarkozy favoured Michel Barnier and Vladimir Spidler was also interested, but his party is out of government. Benita Ferrero-Waldner lacks support in Austria and was replaced. Communications Commissioner Margot Wallström did not intended to return for another third term and has criticized her portfolio for not having any powers. She recommended that her successor be a Citizens Commissioner with a legislative agenda, including control over Erasmus. To gain the Liberal vote in Parliament, Barroso pledged to create a Commissioner for Civil Liberties and a Commissioner for Internal Affairs and Migration, splitting the current Justice, Freedom and Security portfolio. The new portfolios, as well as splitting Home Affairs from Civil Liberties, merges enlargement with the neighbourhood policy, creates a post for climate change and scraps or merges weak dossiers such as communication and multilingualism. There are still some weak posts, however, such as humanitarian aid and institutional relations. There was some minor controversy over appointing a Frenchman to the internal market due to France's desire to regulate the City of London. However, the Civil Service Department for such regulation will not be headed by a Briton. There was also concern over a Romanian taking on agriculture, as Romania has had problems managing its EU farm subsidies. Although Barroso had wished for greater gender balance, only one extra woman was nominated to the new commission. All the vice presidents are returning commissioners and their order of precedence is Catherine Ashton, Viviane Reding, Joaquin Almunia, Siim Kallas, Neelie Kroes, Antonio Tajani and then Maroš Šefčovič. Bulgaria's initial candidate, Rumiana Jeleva, was forced to step down due to opposition from MEPs, mainly the PES, who questioned her suitability and financial interests despite backing from the EPP. Bulgaria rapidly submitted Kristalina Georgieva, but this forced the vote on the commission to be delayed weeks so Georgieva's hearings could be arranged. The only other commissioner designate to lack support was returning Commissioner Neelie Kroes, who was also seen to perform poorly in her hearing. However, she was invited back and secured more support, indicating she will get approval from Parliament. Parliament approved the new line-up on the 9th of February 2010 with 488 votes in favour, 137. The Greens, European Free Alliance and European United Left, Nordic Green Left, voted against, while 72 MEPs abstained, including the European Conservatives and Reformists who abstained on democracy grounds. The Greens criticised the other parties for opposing Barroso's team and then voting in favour anyway, protesting that Barroso have signed portfolios without respect to the prospective commissioners' competences. Worse still, he moved commissioners from posts where they were doing a good job. The new college risks being characterized by internal power struggles instead of teamwork due to the unclear division of responsibilities. While the Conservatives desired a vote for them individually, as there were strong candidates who we would have endorsed, and weak candidates who we would have opposed. However, in exchange for approving the commission, Parliament secured an agreement from Barroso ensuring Parliament's president may attend the commission meetings and international negotiations. However, Barroso resisted Parliament's calls for de facto legislative initiative for Parliament and for a veto power over special representatives. Legislation and actions. There have been a number of high-profile pieces of legislation inherited from Prodi and initiated by the President Commission. In most cases, Barroso has been keen to connect himself to them rather than leave it to individual commissioners. The Commission's work includes the opening up of the EU's services sector with the Bolkestein Directive and the largest piece of legislation thus far, the REACH Directive. Through its work in getting agreement on such legislation, it has regained some respect as a neutral player previously lost in fighting with member states. Services. One legislative package inherited from the Prodi Commission was the Directive on Services in the Internal Market, commonly known as the Bolkestein Directive, which sought to liberalize the EU's service sector, which accounts for two-thirds of the EU's economy. Barroso's Market Commissioner, Charlie McCreevy, put forward a text following far-reaching amendments proposed by Parliament and protests from trade unions. An agreement was finally reached in May 2007 which excluded sectors such as social care, healthcare, gambling, port services, television media and security services among others. McCreevy also dropped the proposed country of origin principle where a company could operate in another EU country under the home state's labour rules. Roaming. One piece of legislation notably managed to win widespread public support: the regulation on roaming charges in the European Union from Information Society and AMP Media Commissioner Viviane Reding. The legislation capped roaming charges for calls made from a mobile phone being used in an EU member state other than its own, which were seen as disproportionately high by the Commission. It was approved despite opposition from mobile phone operators. However, the Socialists in Parliament had wanted more concessions from industry. Reding has seen the legislation as a success and stated that, despite initial fears, there have not been price rises on domestic calls as a result of the caps. However, she noted that operators had instead tried to trick users to switching to more expensive tariffs or using more expensive options such as texting, which was not covered by the legislation. Other policy. The REACH Directive was another major piece of legislation agreed in 2006 after 3 years of negotiations. The directive aims to regulate the use of over 30,000 chemicals used in the EU for risks to the environmental and human health. The Commission's proposals were watered down by Parliament, who were seen by some environmental groups as watering down the proposals. The directive was the largest single piece of legislation ever produced by the Commission and is expected to set the standards for the rest of the world. The 10th of January 2007 marked the publication of the Commission's first venture into an EU energy policy, which had an emphasis on fighting climate change with a binding target of a 20% cut in greenhouse gases by 2020. The policy also aimed for a true, common energy market, more low-carbon energy, and through this, greater energy independence from oil exporters such as Russia. In a case inherited from the Prodi Commission, Competition Commissioner Neelie Kroes had engaged in a drawn-out case against Microsoft concerning abuse of its dominant market position. Microsoft refused to comply with the Commission's demands and received a €497 million fine, the largest imposed by the Commission on a single company. In this case, European Union v. Microsoft. Microsoft failed to win its appeal at the European Court of Justice in 2007 and agreed to cooperate with the Commission. On 3 March 2010, President Barroso announced Europe 2020, a proposal for a major 10-year strategy aimed at reviving the European economy. It targets smart, sustainable, inclusive growth with greater coordination of national and European policy. On 5 December 2012, the antitrust regulators of Barroso Commission fined Philips, LG Electronics, Samsung SDI, Panasonic, Toshiba and Technicolor for price-fixing of TV cathode ray tubes in two cartels lasting nearly a decade. The biggest fine, of €313.4 million, was imposed on Philips, followed by LG Electronics with €295.6 million. Panasonic was fined €157.5 million. Samsung SDI €150.8 million. Technicolor €38.6 million and Toshiba €28 million.